You are listening to Hey, Me No Mind with show host Wood.
What's going on, everybody? Once again, it's another great episode of the Pay Me No Mind show. Actually, I have a special guest going on tonight. I'm very excited. A cat that I just met on Twitter yesterday. We've been chopping it up back and forth. He's a big Michigan fan, and obviously with a big game going on tomorrow on A2 against the 13th ranked Wildcats from Northwestern. I thought it was best to get my guest on, chop it up about a few current events in the sporting world, and then break down this game and have a little fun with a little bit of Michigan trivia maybe, and talk about the season to this point, look ahead to some games such as Michigan State, maybe, and of course Ohio State. And that's pretty much what's lined up for the talk. So I would like to introduce my man Ryan Hags from Michigan. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, man. Appreciate you having me on. Have some fun with this talk.
Right. Yeah, like I said, it's Friday night, man. You're a 25-year-old guy. I'm sure you could be doing something more productive than talking to some stranger from Dayton, Ohio, but I appreciate your kindness.
I don't talk to many people from Ohio, to be honest.
Hey, so
but yeah, man, it's cool, man. We'll chop up some Michigan talk, and excited for the game tomorrow, and let's do it.
Hey, so I found you. Your personal account is at Hags88. You want to tell us about your Michigan site real quick?
Yeah, so a couple of years back, I started a Twitter account at U of M fan follower, and it's basically a way for me to connect with the program, connect with the fans. It's my way of staying engaged with Michigan football, Michigan athletics, mainly Michigan football and Michigan basketball, but it just gets you more hype for the upcoming events. It keeps you updated on recruits and, all the Michigan talk. So that's my other account that I run at U of M fan follower.
Okay. Thanks for following the Pay Me No Mind show. I was shocked to get a follow finally, but you stumbled across me, and here we are today. Hey, so I thought we'd open up with a couple of current events, man. It's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, baseball playoffs are going on. I'm looking at the Cardinals in Chicago right now. I believe Toronto may have dropped the second game a little while ago. Last night, Matt Hasselbeck went 2-0 in his being at the helm of the Colts against the Houston Texans. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I thought I'd ask, being that you're Michigan guy, and your profile says you're a Tigers fan and Pats guy. You think Osmond should be coming back next year, man?
My honest opinion, I have to say no. When you really break it down, as a fan, you want to see wins. You want to see progression. You want to see moves being made, so fans get the impression that we're headed in the right direction, right? So when I heard the news, actually, I believe it wasn't it announced after the UNLV game? Or no, the BYU game. It was announced the same day I found out about it. And so it was like a really high, because we just beat BYU, and then a low because I found out Austin was rehired for the 2016 season. So I'd have to disagree with the move, and it's we'll see where it goes. But Avila's he said that his thought process behind keeping him was because he did a really good job developing his younger talent. JD Martinez, Nick Castellanos, and I agree with that. But one we're not in the playoffs. I mean, everybody looks forward to October, and the Tigers aren't in it. So
we weren't even close to being in it.
What's that?
We weren't even close to being in it.
I know.
You know, I hate to weigh in on guys and whether or not they should keep their jobs, because I don't know what goes on behind the scenes in a lot of these situations, and you know, I don't want to carelessly say that somebody should be dismissed or terminated, but I agree with you. You know, I think he had a lot of talent. I know the rotation's been switched up a little bit, but I felt like, you know, offensively we were still solid. JD had a monster season after kind of having a slow start, at least home run wise, in that first half. So, but he came back, roared back. I know, you know, Miggy had his typical injury, missed 4 or 5 weeks, but I don't know. I'm not so certain it's the best move, the best first decision for Avila, as far as the fan base developing confidence in him. But I mean, I guess we have to roll with it. I mean, I was equally shocked down here an hour south of me. You know, they kept Brian Price around after a totally uninspiring season with the Reds. So, you know, maybe it's just a trend. You know, that some of these Midwest markets are going to give these guys a longer try to get it right. Switching over to football. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I was getting ready to switch over.
I was just going to say that, you know, I was under the impression, and I assume most fans were, that 2 weeks prior to that being announced, that he was on the chopping block. So it caught everybody off guard when we got the news that he was coming back. And with it being such a competitive field, when coaches don't produce, you put somebody else in there. I mean, you know,
I thought it was
what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was academic. But switching over onto the football side, earlier this week, Miami's ownership, Ross, he decided to let Philbin go after just 4 games. You don't have to really get into that. There's been some disturbing things that have come out of that organization, how practices were being ran. But tying it into to Michigan and Detroit sports, what do you think? Do you think that bodes well or kind of looms over Caldwell's head, because he's going against a monster this week in Arizona, could be 0-5, and once again, you know, it's another Detroit team that can't seem to follow up. You know, it's kind of been typical of Detroit to not be able to follow up a successful season.
Yes, exactly, and you have to look at ownership, right? So the track record with the Fords is, you know, hold on, see what happens, right? Different from Miami's situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the Fords are going to wait and see how this pans out with Caldwell, but I mean, I can't see Detroit winning this weekend against Arizona. Arizona's D is bar none right now.
Yeah, and Palmer's having a hell of a season at center. Fitzgerald is kind of turned back the hands of time a little bit, and it is in Arizona. Oh no, it's at home. So that's one thing in there. You know, one factor going for him. But I'm shocked at Caldwell, because he seems to be a very conservative guy. I thought he was a good personality to bring in and match up with some of the shenanigans that we saw under the previous coach. And I thought he was going to button up some of that stuff. Obviously, he went 11-5 last year. I still think they got robbed in that playoff game, you know, to end the season. And like I said, to come back now and really the team is not playing like it has a chip on his shoulder. Stafford seems like he's digressed some. Abdul is not really rolling in the rushing game. And Johnson is kind of, I mean, he's kind of a forgotten man in his wide receiver game, you know, with the Julios, AJ Greens, and Demetrius Hopkins, Cooper. I mean, we're not even talking about Megatron this year.
I know it. I wanted to ask you a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
About you remember the Caldwell comment about the fans? I think, quote, I think the fans, at least ones that I know of or hear from, most are more interested in us winning than any great pronouncement of some sort. That's the key. If we win games, these aren't issues, which is true, right? But they're not winning games, and that's what fans want to see right now. I mean, this is a roller coaster right now. I mean, I guess, what are your thoughts on the Caldwell comment when he was interviewed about his comment?
Yeah, I think, man, anytime a coach is talking about the fans and stuff off of the field, then that's kind of a sign that there's some trouble there, in my opinion, to begin with. You know, Bill Belichick is not talking about fans. Mike Tomlin is not talking about fans. John Harbaugh in Baltimore is not talking about fans. So I think when you kind of get off script a little bit, then I kind of grow concerned. But they have we see, they did play Seattle pretty tough. 13-10. I know there's not really moral victories in the NFL, but that was in Seattle, and a 13-10 loss with the controversial ending. So, after the Arizona, they had Chicago, Minnesota, and Kansas City. So those are 3 games that are winnable. So, winning cures everything. And, it's still a possibility that they could beat Arizona. Arizona dropped they dropped the game to St. Louis. So it's not like they can't be beat.
And the upside is DeAndre Levy's isn't he projected to play this weekend? And the defense was already. I mean, against Seattle, the defense played pretty well, right?
Right.
I mean, with DeAndre Levy, that's even going to add more leadership to the defense, and he's, so.
It's plenty time to bounce back. I mean, I think, like I said, that was a great showing to, push the reigning NFC champs, to the last second. I mean, so I don't want to pile it on. I just think, based on the fact, like I said, once again, the Detroit Lions can't follow up a season of success with a similar season. That just is kind of typical of the organization. We'll see what Caldwell can do. I'm not totally giving up on the guy, but I think the overall fan base could. But hey,
I agree.
So look, man, I'm gonna take a quick break. Do a little shout out for some of the partners of the program of One Take Podcast Nation. We'll come back on the other side of that, man, and jump into some Michigan Wolverine talk. Okay, hold on just a second, man. Just a second.
Going for 2, your number one source for fantasy sports with top-notch fantasy sports advice, an exclusive community forum, and some of the best and most knowledgeable writers in fantasy sports. Visit today at going42.com. That's going2.com. Going for 2 features NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and more. And they also provide the best advice for your FanDuel, DraftKings, or daily fantasy sports site. Sign up for the Going for 2 newsletter and get updates immediately through your email. And while you're on the site, make sure you check out the exclusive section, Why I Hate. That's going42.com, GOINGFOR2. Going42.com. Go visit and get the inside scoop of everything fantasy sports.
All right, we're back. This is the Pay Me No Mind show with your host, Wood. I'm on with my man, Ryan Hags from Michigan. You can check him out at Hags88 and also at U of M Fan Follower. And we are actually getting ready to get into some Wolverines talk. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on because I've been trying to find me somebody to talk up the Wolverines with. And it was just some